And gentlemen, welcome into College Football 25 Stadium Errors, where I go through some different stadiums and point out some honestly very obvious stadium errors that were just not implemented or missed or didn't render in properly. Some very weird situations. The first one, this is Texas State. And, this is their stadium. It's not like this is like a custom build, but Texas State has a second deck going around like 3/4 of the stadium that's just not here. And I believe if you look at Texas State Stadium, these, little pillar things or whatever you want to call them, these little openings, they are above the second deck. But they just did not include a second deck into the stadium. I'm really not sure how that's possible because it's not like this is a random generic stadium. They had to custom make this for Texas State. I don't know if they used a different template from an earlier prior version or what, but this is very strange that their upper deck is not in this, just because you wouldn't expect it. I mean, if you're going to make all of the stadiums custom, is it just something you forget about? They acknowledged it, so maybe they'll include it in the patch update that's coming. I think it was people saw it before the game even was released when the beta had come out, and or like the influencers were playing it or something, and then they saw it. But this is a pretty crazy, like, there's not much to show you other than there's no second deck. There should be a second deck going around here. This next one is just ridiculous. So you can see this is ATT Stadium. The only way to get this stadium, I believe, is to be in the Cotton Bowl. And then maybe also Texas A&M and another SEC team do have a neutral site game at the stadium. But it's weird how this stadium never hosts national championships, at least from what I see. It's always Mercedes-Benz. But that's not really the point of this. Take a look at this. What in the actual... It's like this stadium is incomplete. It's not even like there's empty seats there and they just didn't render in the fans. There's no seats. So it's like they built this stadium and then just didn't put the seats in the upper levels. I don't even know how this happens, because you would think they would just take AT&T Stadium from Madden and import it in here. And this is supposedly a national championship game. Or no, it's not the national championship game, but it's the Cotton Bowl. So like you could play college football semifinal games in this stadium, and I believe every time you load this up, and I don't think I've seen other people point it out, maybe they have, but every time I load this up, there's no, it's not even that there's no fans, there's no seats. This is like what you would see from a stadium that's almost done with construction, but they still have to install the seats. It's very peculiar, and I'm not exactly sure, and also I don't think you're able to open the roofs at all in any of these stadiums. It's so crazy how you can't even customize things, like just make teams play at random stadiums, things like that. It's just a lack of options, especially when it comes to the dynasty mode in this game. And also this, like, what is that? How does this not come in? You're just importing it. I don't know if I guess something must have happened where they have to, I mean, you can see all of the suites. There's 3 sections or 3, three levels of suites stacked on top of each other. And there are fans there. There are fans in those suites, but the seats below it are just non-existent. They're not even there. And then the entire upper deck is just gone. The other side is perfectly fine. So a very, very strange error there, which obviously that should not happen. This next one really just doesn't make a whole lot of sense, other than I think just laziness from EA, if we're being honest. So this is supposedly Hawaii's home stadium. Now, the reason, number one, this makes no sense is there's no way Hawaii would have a stadium with a capacity of 60,000 at this point. That's just ridiculous. If they were to build a new stadium, it would have the capacity of like 25K. But number two, this is a generic rip-off stadium from Madden, where if you relocate, you can build this stadium potentially. It doesn't exist in real life, but it's been in the Madden ecosystem since like 2011, 2012. And then number three, Hawaii right now plays at a temporary stadium, a complex on their campus with right now temporary seating, but they're going to be playing at that on-campus stadium probably for at least 4 or 5 more years, considering their new stadium hasn't even begun construction. So why not just have their temporary stadium in this game, considering they're going to be playing there for at least the next 4 or 5 years, rather than take a generic stadium? It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, I guess if you're trying to build up Hawaii, that honestly, that would be kind of cool to build up Hawaii, and you could have this massive stadium ready for you. So in terms of a rebuild, it might actually be good, considering the rebuild options. The dynasty options are so bad when it comes to stadiums. You really can't do anything. You can't expand the capacity. You can't build a new stadium. You can't do any of that. So maybe if you are trying to rebuild a bad team, Hawaii might be a good play, because you do have a made up stadium, a stadium that doesn't exist, that has a capacity of like 60K. So if Hawaii became a powerhouse, it could be used. But it just doesn't make a lot of sense. This is from Madden. It's not like they built this custom for Hawaii either. It is just a generic relocation stadium. Now with this next one, you are looking at a stadium that doesn't exist. This entire stadium has been completely knocked down. I'm not even kidding you. Ryan Field does not exist anymore. It's been knocked down, and they, I guess, did not want to make it the temporary stadium, which would have been really cool, by the way. The temporary stadium for Northwestern is right next to Lake Michigan, and they're going to have that stadium, I believe, for 2 years as their new stadium gets built. But this has been knocked down. This does not exist anymore. The old Ryan Field is gone. And so to see this in College Football 25 is kind of ridiculous. I guess I kind of understand it, but if you're going to go through all the work of actually putting this stadium in the game, why not just do the temporary stadium right next to Lake Michigan? It would be pretty sweet to see, rather than have this thing in the game that doesn't even... What is with this extra... What is this? This is... I don't think this is supposed to be... Well, maybe. I don't know. This is like a weird, conjumbled, expanded seating. Did they actually have this at Northwestern? I feel like they didn't. Like, it doesn't even align properly. It would have to be expanded seating towards the end, I guess. Maybe they did. I don't know. But Ryan Field, this place does not exist. It's been fully demolished at this point. They demolished it this offseason, and that is it. So to see it in this game it's kind of weird. Maybe they just took it from 14 and up to the graphics, I guess. Now with this one, I had heard in a rumor that, at this point is obviously false, that they were going to include the new renovated Kansas Memorial Stadium into this game. As you can see, the stadium is not renovated at all. When it comes to the actual stadium, they basically demolished everything this offseason except for like this area of seating, the sideline area of seating. That's the only thing that they kept. Kansas is going to be adding an upper deck. They're going to be changing out all of their seating over here. They're going to be closing up the stadium, and that's going to be done by next year. So right now, Kansas, I mean, this stadium does not exist either, because it's getting or I guess you could say it does exist, but most of the stands have been already knocked down, and they're playing at Arrowhead, home of the Chiefs. So I could kind of understand EA just leaving this in here, but I had heard a rumor that they were going to include the renovated one, although you could also make the argument that they shouldn't really do that, considering the actual Kansas football team hasn't even played a game, and they're not going to be playing at the newly renovated stadium until next year. So you could make an argument to not do it, but it's just kind of disappointing that they still have this old one in the game. And by the way, if anyone notices any major stadium problems or stadium errors, because I really haven't checked all the stadiums or anything like that, say in the comments and maybe I'll do a part 2 to this. But those are just some random stadium errors that I found in College Football 25. Guys, that's going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.